Well,
but what I did say
well,
to
well,
him
you
was
just
it's
not
not
talk about
about.
a nigger wake-up call, and it seemed to me that that should have been a wake-up call on your part to have.
Yeah, I
I'm
think
just saying, but you are black, and to
absolutely.
have a white guy.
I like, wait, I like that he just used the word Larry Elder.
Guy come in here and tell you have to say think a certain kind of way, otherwise you quote ain't black. Wow.
How should I have replied to him? You think?
What I just now said. How dare you insult me and tell me I think as a human being, let alone as a black person?
Right. Look at Charlamagne looking at him like, God,
Man, you're right. I should have said
I should have
that.
said that. I ain't even
Man,
think
in
of that.
hindsight. God.
Hindsight 2020.
I wish I was free. I wish I was off the plantation like you.
That Democratic plantation boy. They
Yeah.
got him. Hi everybody, welcome back to the second half of this video. So did anybody see Charlamagne the God take an L with Larry Elder on the Breakfast Club?
That was a travesty.
That was
was
amazing.
just complete disrespect.
Oh,
And
Larry Elder's in his 70s. This the way that they were speaking to this man. It was a lot. But Larry knows.
Larry is better than me because I
Yeah.
guess
Yeah,
Man.
right. See, the thing is that he's stuck to facts, and this is what they hate when you stick to facts because it messes up their narrative. Okay, anyways, we're gonna watch a little bit of his interview with the Breakfast Club. Put your seatbelts on because it's a bumpy ride.
For example, the number one social problem in America by far is the epidemic not of COVID, but of fatherlessness. 70% of black kids today enter the world without a father in the home, married to the mother, up from 25% back in 1965. Now 25% of white kids enter the world today without a father in the home, married to the mother. And the stats are clear. Even Barack Obama once cited them. If you're raised without a dad, you're 5 times more likely to be poor and commit crime, 9 times more likely to drop out of school, and 20 times more likely to end up in jail. What's happened? In the mid-60s, with I think the best of intentions, a Democrat named Lyndon Johnson launched what he called the War on Poverty. And since then, we have incentivized women to marry the government and incentivized men to abandon their financial and moral responsibility. You know, when I say this to people, the pushback I get is, well, there are lots of things that are going on, systemic racism, poverty. Here's the problem. If you look at a young black male aged 10 to 43, that's young to me because I'm 71 years old. A young black man in that demo is 13 times more likely to be murdered than a young white man, same demo. Young black man, real young, 19 and under, the number one cause of preventable death is homicide, almost always at the hands of another young black male. Same demo for whites, the number one cause of preventable death is unintentional deaths. That includes drug overdoses, automobile accidents, drownings. It's not until they get to number 4 that death is the cause. In America, 60% of the shootings, the robberies, and the homicides are committed by black people, often against other black people. Of the homicides in this country, half of them are black victims, almost all killed by other blacks. How do you explain that if it isn't for the absence of fathers? Are you prepared to say black people are just genetically inclined to commit more crime? I doubt it. And the go-to reaction often is poverty and systemic racism. Here's the problem. 1940, when there was blatant racism, this is before Brown versus Board of Education, before the Civil Rights Act of '64, KKK was still alive and well, 87% of blacks lived under the poverty line. Now it's about 14%. You can't blame it on poverty. You can't blame it on racism. It is the breakdown of the nuclear intact family, and neither side is talking about it. The left doesn't talk about it because they caused it with the welfare state, and our side does not talk about it because if you're white, you'll be accused of dissing single moms who are heroically raising these kids, or you'll be accused of being a racist, or if you're black, you'll be accused, as I was by the LA Times, of being the black face of white supremacy. Nobody's talking about that. I am.
What are the reasons, if your statistics are right, what are the reasons that you think fathers aren't in the home?
As I said, it's because in the mid-'60s, Lyndon Johnson launched what he called the War on Poverty. In Charlamagne, literally, they sent social workers door to door in the inner city. I remember this, advising women of the availability of welfare provided there was no man in the house. It created an economic incentive for women to marry the government. Same thing with whites. In 1965, 8% of whites entered the world without a father in the home, married to the mother. Now it's about 25%, also up threefold. Look at census data. 1910, 1920, 1930, in places like Milwaukee, Chicago, Philadelphia, a young black kid was slightly more likely to be brought into a world with a father in the home married to the mother than a young white kid. We have incentivized this kind of bad behavior, and it's had a disproportionately bad effect on the black community.
Let me ask you a question. What do white people do wrong, Larry Elder?
Wow.
Wow.
See what I'm saying? I watched this, and honestly, I was triggered. These people triggered the crap out of me because I'm sorry. Larry Elder is a lot more patience than me. These three
It was a lot.
people are just the most ignorant.
Oh my God.
I mean, you got to have low IQ
He
to be
went
watching
through-
this show
He
on a
went
regular
through
basis.
all of those studies, stats, data, facts, all of that for 3 minutes.
And even talked about white people.
Yeah, for over 3 minutes. And his response to this is, what do white people do wrong?
Really? So I get it. We like to talk
Really?
about black people all the time. It's always about us.
Black,
you know what I
yeah,
mean? We're
yeah.
oppressed. We need reparations.
Reparations.
This is about slavery. We
Yeah.
want treated well,
Yeah.
but we're also queens and kings, and
Affirmative action.
black girl magic.
Oh,
But then
yeah.
as soon as we start talking about
That's some
real
facts.
stuff that can actually fit, because he is talking about the
Some
black
real
community.
stuff.
He is trying to help the black
Black
community
community.
with telling the truth.
Yep.
Now all of a sudden, let's talk about white people.
What do you mean, what do white people do? I'm not worried about white people. I'm worried about what's going on with us.
But if there's systemic racism in this country, which we know it is.
No, I don't say there is. You say there is. I don't believe that.
Oh, you don't believe there's
No,
systemic
there used to
racism?
be, obviously. Tell me what you think the number one systemic example of systemic racism is in America.
Oh man, there's so many.
Just give me the most important one you think.
At the top of mind, I'd probably maybe say mass incarceration. Maybe.
Really? During the Great Depression, when 50% of black adults were unemployed, you didn't have this kind of mass incarceration. It's the breakdown of the family. There's a direct.
I'm not going to. I agree with the family part. I'm a black man who is a father to his children, and I'm
Right.
a happily married
Right.
black man to a black woman. So I'm never going to argue with that part. But I just feel like everything is black with you. Black is wrong. Black people do this and black people do that. And when I ask you what white people do wrong, you said you're not worried about white people at all.
I'm talking about the damage, disproportionate damage going on in the black community. For example, look at these smash and grabs that are taking place in Los Angeles, where I live. There's a suburb called Glendale, where at a mall recently, a mob of 30 to 40 people, they had masks on, but one guy got popped. He was black, and I think most of those who were doing this were black. And in recent years and times, there have been a number of these in places like Chicago, places like New York. If I were involved in something like that, Charlemagne, I grew up with a dad, just as you're raising your own children. I would have been more afraid of my father than I would about the cops catching me. These kids are afraid of neither. They don't have a father in the home. Cops are demoralized. They're pulling back. Their manpower is short. And as a result, you tell a bad guy you're less likely to be caught, convicted, incarcerated, crime goes up. They may be criminals, but they're not stupid. When you say, what do white people do? I mean, this is a country that has struggled mightily to get over its historic racism. There was a civil war. There was a big civil rights movement. This is the only majority white country that's ever elected a black president, let alone reelected a black president. The three biggest cities in America are New York, Chicago, L.A. They all have black mayors, even though no city has a majority of black population. The president of Harvard is a black female. Martin Luther King in 1966, Charlemagne, gave an interview to the BBC. This is 2 years after the Civil Rights Act of 64 got passed. And he said, I'm amazed at how many positive changes there have been in America in the last 2 years. Why, if things keep going like this, we could have a black president in about 40 years' time. Do the math. Right on cue, Barack Obama elected 2008. He didn't say there'll be a black female president of Harvard, and there has been. He didn't say there are going to be black CEOs of Fortune 500 companies, and there have been several. He didn't say the percentage of the House would equal the percentage of black people in the population, and it does. He didn't say the three largest cities would have black mayors, and they do. He didn't say the largest and most prestigious organization of doctors, the American Medical Association, would have 2 black presidents, and there have been. He didn't say the most prestigious organization of lawyers, the American Bar Association, would have 2 black presidents, and they have. He said president, meaning at that point, I can feel that I've reached the mountaintop, which is the speech he gave right before he got assassinated.
Real quick. So why is Larry Elder breaking down all of these positions that black people have filled over the course of years right now? He's bringing all of this up because he's trying to show Charlemagne and everybody that's listening that there is not systemic racism. We have progressed to the point where we have been the leaders and CEOs of Fortune 500 companies. We've been president. We've done all of these things, and it's still not going to be enough.
Mayors,
all of this,
police chiefs.
We running a lot of stuff.
We are a part of the system.
We are.
No matter what you want to say, that is a part of the system. You know what I mean? And so why, with all this progress, do we have so much of this?
Yeah.
It's like this, I mean, it was a rules for me, but not for thee.
Yeah.
So I can be successful, Charlemagne, and have an intact family.
Yeah.
And I can be successful, DJ Envy, and I can be successful. But the rest of the people just need to be, the rest of the black mass has to be just told that they can't do anything. They're victims of the system. You're never going to succeed. You got to do 3 times as more than a white person to get where they, you know what I mean? All the stuff we inject into our kids.
The thing is that makes me most upset is that their platform is so huge. Even their individual platforms are huge. Their show is obviously huge. They're not taking the opportunity to speak about father absence and how that is a direct connection to the decline in the black community, and how it's a direct connection to crime in the black community, how it's a direct connection to the prisons being filled up in the black community. It's a direct connection to so many things that's declining in the black community. Yet these people with these types of platforms, Kara and I have a smaller platforms. We have over 400 videos, and a lot of those videos you'll see, we talk a lot about father absence. Even before we even knew about, we were really into Larry Elder, because we knew that Larry is absolutely right. Anyone who talks like Larry is correct. It is a direct connection to the problem going on in the community.
We came from a fatherless home. I had problems.
And we know, and guess what? And it was not rare. See, this is the thing is that we're not the exception. No, we are the rule in the black community. And they know exactly what's going on. They know exactly.
And it just makes mad because, like Daniel said, our platform is smaller, way smaller than theirs. And black people come into our comments and say things like, "Oh, I don't like what you're saying," and white people are listening. I'm like, you kidding me? You know how many people are watching? Not very much, but everybody's watching them.
Yeah.
And this is what most black people think. This is how most black people think.
And now we act as if Barack Obama never even got elected. And we're still talking about systemic racism. It's not fair. It's wrong. And you're discouraging black people from working hard. 1990s.
Okay. Mr. Elder, a quick question. Let's just remove the word racism, since that seems to be a word that triggers,
Okay, let me just take a deep breath before I see this woman. This woman, I
don't even know her name.
I don't even care.
I
don't even want to give her a shout out by name. I cannot
This woman is the reason, this type of woman is the reason why black women are one of the most undesired group of women right now.
And that's why I'm mostly triggered by her.
A conversation down the water hole. Let's just focus on the word system.
Okay.
You mentioned that the system was the one that discouraged. And again, we have no problem with agreeing that the family, the black family, should certainly has some room for some improvement. But let's just focus on system.
Room for improvement?
System. Well, we're not going to go down that water. We're not going to go down that water hole. Let's get to the question. So the question is, you said that the system encouraged black women to be single mothers, correct?
I said the welfare state, yes.
The system. So who's in charge of the system? Who was in charge of the system?
Well, it was Democrats that passed it.
And who were Democrats? Were they black or white at that time?
Well, at the time, majority of black people were Democrats, as the majority of black people are Democrats now.
Not the voters. I'm talking about the system. Remember, the main idea is the word system. Who was in charge of the system at the time? The Democrats at the time. The system. I'm just going to Charlemagne's point about white or black. Was it white?
She's trying to get him to say white people.
Which, by the way, she said, let's not talk about race. Let's start talking about the system, because obviously you don't want to talk about race. But what she's trying to do is get to talk about race again. Yes. Let's talk about the white race.
Yeah. Because remember, it's all the white man's fault. Remember, keep that in mind, guys. All the white man's fault.
The system. I'm just going to Charlemagne's point about white or black. Was it white Democrats in charge of the system or black Democrats in charge of the system?
Well, if you're prepared to say that Lyndon Johnson did this viciously with an intent to destroy the black family, I disagree. He did it with the best of intentions. And if you look at the New York Times, which is left wing, the Washington Post, which is left wing, they cheered all of this.
Right. And what I'm asking, was it white people? So I'm going to ask again in case my mic's not coming through clearly. Was it white people in charge of the system or black people in charge of that system that helped break down the black family? It's a simple yes, just a simple question, white or black?
Well, you didn't have to go on welfare unless you voluntarily chose to go on welfare. The inducement was put there by Democrats, by
White
the, by, the- by
Democrats,
the left.
correct? Okay. White
Well,
Democrats,
most
correct?
black people were Democrats, and they voted for these white people
Not
too.
voters. I said who's in charge of
Who's
the
in charge?
system.
Well, who puts
Who was in charge?
who put them in charge?
Was Lyndon Johnson
Who put
white
them-
or black?
Who put them in
And maybe
charge?
that'll
Well,
help you.
Fine, Lyndon Johnson was white.
Thank you.
Okay, but
So she thinks she did a slam dunk.
Yeah,
there,
and
but what she really did was admit
Idiot.
that black people at 92% vote for a system that oppresses them for the last 60 years.
So according to what she is saying,
It's Democrats that systematically oppress you, yet we're voting for them at a 92% clip.
so that means she just called Democrats racist,
Right.
and she doesn't even realize she did it.
For the sake of argument, she ran her mouth too long. And for the sake of argument, she just admitted that the party that most black people vote for is
Democrats?
systematically racist.
And she thinks she did a mic drop,
And she didn't.
and she doesn't even realize because she's in her attitude.
Actually, that I can bet you that the radio station that they work for say you just admitted that liberals are
racist.
systematically racist on accident. And I know they wanted this meeting with
Yeah.
Larry to end.
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't ever want to debate Larry Elder.
I don't know
ever.
what they were thinking of having him on here.
Talk about donkey of the day. I
Yeah.
mean, all three of them. Look at DJ Envy just sitting there like he doesn't. He sit up.
Yeah.
But if your argument is that the reason he did it is because of racism, then I
No.
disagree. He did it because of
That's not my argument. I just asked you a simple question. Was he white or black? Charlamagne?
And Mr. Elder, you said you talked about the smash and grabs, right? And I find that interesting because when you see the mass shootings that happen, majority of those people are white males. What do you think about that?
Actually, if you look at the percentage of whites in America, which is 60%, the percentage of mass shooters is under that. The percentage of people that commit hate crime is under that. The percentage of people who are serial killers is under that. Black people are 13% of the population. We commit a greater percentage compared to that
But no,
of
you
mass
specifically
shootings.
talked about the smash and grabs, though. So I was saying, since you're using that as an example, I'm saying, well, what about the mass shooters that are usually white males?
It's not getting it.
See, this is what happens when you only interview people that think like you,
Yeah.
and then you get somebody who challenges your intellect. And Charlamagne is wrong here, and he's about to tell you why he's wrong.
Over time, they are usually white males because 60% of the country is white. However, they underrepresent in terms of the number of mass shootings. About 50% or so of the mass shootings in this country are committed by white people, even though white people are 60% of the population. They underrepresent. We overrepresent when it comes to hate crime, when it comes to mass shootings, when it comes to serial killings, when it comes to robberies, when it comes to virtually every category of violent crime. We overrepresent.
So what do white people do wrong? I'm going to keep asking you that.
This man has nothing to say to Larry Elder, but what do white people do? Charlamagne, did you do your homework before you interviewed a man like this?
He thought he was gonna come on here and talk to Mr. Elder like he was just Sexy Red or something, or Cardi B.
I mean,
Can you
it's
believe
absolutely
he
amazing.
did it again, Kara. He said it again. But what about
how
white
much more
people?
information do you need from this man?
What about white people? He can't get off of it. Oh my God. Help me.
I know you don't like what you're hearing.
I know,
See,
it's
this is
bad.
the thing. Even black people that come into our comments and want to talk a lot of
Oh yeah,
smack,
we get calls.
you know what I mean?
You already know.
I know you don't like hearing
Hearing
it,
this.
but hearing it is how we change it.
You calling us names not going to change the stats,
Right.
Data and facts.
I mean, start telling the truth about things, and then let's discuss that. But if you keep running away from the truth because it embarrasses
I know,
you,
right?
because you're afraid that white people are going to hear it like they don't already know.
know.
You know what I mean? You know what I mean? This is what
That's
keeps
true.
you stuck.
So what do white people do wrong? I'm going to keep asking you that because I want
Well,
it
seems to me rather than deal with what's going on, the pathology that's going on in the inner city, you want me to talk about how bad white people are,
No, I'm
which
saying
I don't
that
think
there's a cause and effect.
which I don't think is a particularly productive thing to do.
Well, I think,
I'm talking.
I think there's a cause and effect, but if we can't talk about the cause, which I believe is systemic racism and white supremacy, the FBI says.
Well, I just told you, if it's systemic racism, please explain to me how it was when America really had systemic racism in 1940. 87% of blacks lived under the poverty line. Again, this is during Jim Crow era. My father is from Athens, Georgia, grew up in Jim Crow. My mom is from Huntsville, Alabama, grew up in Jim Crow. 87% of blacks live below the poverty line. This is before Brown versus Board of Education. You did not find these kind of black on black crime.
Probably because we had no
But they
choice
still
but
were
to do it
living
ourselves.
below the poverty line, though, sir.
I'm sorry?
You're forgetting the fact that they were still living below the poverty line. You're picking and choosing, saying this was good, but this was bad.
Okay.
The bottom line, they end between the poverty line. But let's move forward
Well,
on.
No. This woman just says anything and she tries to move on. But the truth
Yeah.
is, that's what he's saying.
Yeah.
We live below the poverty line, but there was no crime like it was. like there is
Right.
now. We have less people in poverty now, and
And
yet the crime
more
rate
is
is
going up.
skyrocketing. She's
So
not making no points.
So when we look, the reason why he brings up the 1940s, 50s, 60s, the reason why he goes back and brings it up because we have to be able to compare what's happened then to now and what the difference is. So what is the common denominator to what is the difference between what happened back then and what is happening now? What's different is no fathers. There were fathers in the home then. It was the nuclear family was intact.
She's proving his point.
Yeah.
And
Right.
she thinks that she can say, let's move on. Like, we're just going to, no.
Yeah.
Bottom line, they end between the poverty line. But let's move forward
Well,
on
let me.
system.
Can I just address that? In 1940, 87% of blacks lived under the poverty line. 1960, that number had fallen to 47%. That's a 40-point drop in 20 years.
Right.
That's the greatest 20-year period of economic expansion for black people in the history of America. Again, well before Brown versus Board of Education, well before the KKK imploded, well before we had race-based preferences. Why? Because it was rare for a black kid to be raised in a family without a father in the home. A strong belief in Judeo-Christian values, a belief in patriotism, even as America wasn't applying these values to black people, obviously, and a belief in entrepreneurship. All those things are now under assault by organizations like Black Lives Matter. Charlemagne, Black Lives Matter had on their website an attack on the nuclear family. The founders are self-described Marxists, trained Marxists. Marx wanted to dethrone God, was an atheist, and Marx did not believe in capitalism, let alone entrepreneurship. All the things that made black people still survive in virulent racism are now under attack by organizations like Black Lives Matter. You think America's more racist now after the election and re-election of Barack Obama than it was in 1997?
Yes, because of the election of MAGA, Donald Trump, 100%. Yes.
Really?
Absolutely.
Well, how is it, Charlemagne, that Donald Trump got 8% of the black vote in 2016? He got 12% in 2020, a 50% increase. He got 20% of the black male vote in 2020. If MAGA is racist, how do you explain that Donald Trump substantially increased the percentage of black votes Republican Party got?
Sometimes people make poor
So why are you
choices.
running against
Hold on,
Trump then,
hold on,
Mr.
Ted.
Elder?
Yeah,
I'm not running against him. I'm running against Biden Harris. Any one of the Republican nominees we have would be better than what we have right now.
Systematic racism, because we're not in charge of the system, sir. In case you
Okay, all right,
unfamiliar about
all right.
the system. Black people have never been in charge of any system. We're
Well,
not
actually, we have been. Take Baltimore.
No, we've never been in charge of
May I
any
finish?
system. Tell me, what financial system are black people in
Okay,
charge of?
let's
What
take-
healthcare system are black
So I'm
people in
sorry,
charge
real
of?
quick. She's gonna go on a spiel about the system. She's needing us. She's needing him to really talk about this, how we are not running anything. The system is still run by the white man. The system thing is just ridiculous. So she's just crazy. He's going to go on to also annihilate her in this too, as he is literally slaying this entire interview with them.
What government system are black people in
I'm
charge
about
of?
ready to tell
what
you.
prison system are black people
I'm
in
about ready to
charge?
tell you.
I'm not talking about mayors. I already know that talking point, sir. I go on Fox News all the time as well. So let's not go there with that. I said, what system have we created?
Goodness.
Have we implemented that we have been in charge of? Name one.
Is this why you don't like talking to black women, Larry Elder?
Wow. Baltimore. Freddie Gray a few years ago.
No. That's mayors. I'm not talking. I said system.
I'm
Remember,
going to
you like
tell
the
you
word
about
system.
this system if you allow me to finish my point.
I'm not talking about somebody elected and doing a job, sir. I asked, what system did we create? What financial
Okay, let's
system
talk
did we
about the
create?
system of one of the largest.
Let him say his point,
Thank you.
man.
One of the systems of one of the largest cities in America, Baltimore.
Remember when Donald Trump said that you are a nasty woman
This
to
is
that
like-
lady on CNN? Remember he said that to her, that lady on CNN?
At the town hall.
Let me tell you something. When I saw this interview with this lady talking, just naturally, I said that to myself. This is a nasty woman.
Freddie Gray died in police custody a few years ago. The mayor was black. The head of the police department was black. Number two,
It's not in charge of the system, but go ahead.
number two person in charge of the police department was black. All
Still not in charge of the
all of
system.
city council, Democrats, majority black.
Still not in charge of the system.
Wow.
That's a position.
6 officers charged, 3 of them were black. A judge before whom 2 of the officers tried their case found him not guilty was black.
Still not in charge of the system.
The city intendant of public schools was black. The county superintendent of public schools is black. The attorney general at the time, Loretta Lynch, is black, as was the president of the United States, was black. And yet,
Still
many
not in
people-
charge of the system.
who's in
I
charge of
asked
the
you a
system,
simple
Ted?
question, sir.
Well, Wanda Sykes said when Barack Obama got elected, how are you going to complain about the man when you are the man? Now, from the president to the attorney general to the state attorney to the mayor to the head of the police department to the commissions of the schools in the city and in the county to the majority of city council in that city, all of them are black. And you're still saying that we don't run anything?
So who's in charge of the
No,
system,
no,
Ted?
no. I said who created the system. I didn't say we didn't run anything. I challenged a lot of those black leaders, by the way. I said who, when we talk about the system, what black people have been in charge of any system. I'm not talking about a position. I'm not talking about a mayor. You know good and well what I'm talking about.
You're basically saying that they're black faces that are still in those positions, but they're still being a
correct.
part
Similar
of the system.
to you, Mr. Elder. You're a black face in a position in the conservative movement. They're just the same. They're just on the other side.
Have you ever heard of the term nigga wake up call?
No.
It is an incident where a person of color forgets that they are of color and are reminded rather brutally by an unexpected act of racism. Have you ever had any?
I'm sorry. Larry Elder is an elder. And to
Say that to this man. I mean, really.
the disrespect, the unprofessionalism and the disrespect is just is out the park for him to even ask this question.
I would like for you guys to look at the interview they've done with Hillary Clinton and all the softball questions. How's your family? And how's this? They never do this to Democrats. Never.
No.
Ever do this to Democrats.
Ever.
They did this to Vivek Ramaswamy.
Yep.
That woman.
Yep.
With him.
Oh, we'll do a video on that.
Oh, man.
That was a lot.
The term nigga wake up call?
No.
It is an incident where a person of color forgets that they are of color and are reminded rather brutally by an unexpected act of racism. Have you ever had any of those?
Oh, brother.
I'm just asking. You think you've ever
Well,
had
I'm acutely aware, Charlemagne, that I'm a black person, just as you are a black person. And when Joe Biden insulted you by saying, you ain't really black, we don't know whether or not you want to vote for me or vote for Donald Trump, it seems to me that should have been a wake-up call on your part. How dare this guy come in here and insult you, a black man, and tell you you got to think a certain kind of way? I'm amazed that you weren't mad about that.
I'm not gonna say it upset me, just like I'm not letting you upset me. You know.
This part really made it all worth it for me.
This part,
Because,
y'all,
man, man,
Charlemagne wasn't ready.
he wasn't ready.
Upset over things like
Well,
that. But what I did say,
well,
to him
you
was
just not
it's
talk about a nigger wake-up call, and it seemed to me that should have been a wake-up call on your part to have a white guy come in here who also said, by the way, about Mitt Romney, because he didn't want to put more regulations on Wall Street, going to put y'all back in chains. And Joe Biden has lied for decades about his civil rights record, claiming that he desegregated movie theaters and restaurants in Wilmington, Delaware, when he didn't do any of that. He lied and said that he tried to visit Nelson Mandela during apartheid South Africa. He did not. And he came in here and told you aren't even black and let you think a certain kind of way. It seemed to me that should have been a nigga wake-up call for you, but it wasn't, apparently.
Yeah, I mean, for the record, I'm not a Democrat or Republican.
I didn't say you were.
Yeah, I think both.
I don't know what
trash.
you are. I never even asked you about your party affiliation.
Yeah,
I'm just saying, but you are black. And to have a white guy.
I like that he just used the word Larry Elder. He just went ahead and used the word. Yeah.
And I swear, this part made it all worth it. I'm sorry.
He
Larry
was
Elder
not ready.
gave him the business, and I just...
Oh, man. Charlemagne, you got to be quicker than this. You got to be a little faster
That was
than
probably
man.
the best clapback I have
Man.
seen from a politician in so long. Besides Trump telling that woman at that town hall, "You are a nasty woman." Because man, this was a good one.
Guy come in here and tell you have to say think a certain kind of way, otherwise you quote ain't black. Wow.
How should I have replied to him? You think?
What I just now said. How dare you insult me and tell me I think as a human being, let alone as a black person?
Right.
I don't tell you how to think, Joe Biden. How dare you come in here and tell me how I should think? I'm going to vote for Donald Trump if I want to vote for Donald Trump, and if I want to vote for Donald Trump, it does not make me not black. 20% of black people, black men, as I said, voted for Donald Trump in 2020. Are they not black now? So only 80% of black people, black men walking around are really black. 20% are not.
Charlemagne looking at him like, God,
Man, you're right. I should have said that.
I ain't even
Man,
think
in
of that.
hindsight. God,
Hindsight 2020.
I wish I was free. I wish I was off the plantation like you.
That Democratic plantation boy. They
Yeah.
got him.
They
You can't
got us
say
a
nothing.
stronghold.
Man, that's hilarious. Okay, I'm sorry.
Because they voted for Donald Trump. How insulting is that? How condescending is that?
I mean, you're probably right, but I didn't take it in that way.
They should never ever.
They
do this
will
again.
never, ever. Honestly, they won't. They probably won't ask Vivek Ramaswamy back.
Oh, no.
He wiped the floor with that woman also. And
Yeah. We'll put
they're
that
just
up.
low information. See, this
Oh,
is
yeah.
the thing: is the Breakfast Club is just they're agents. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're here and they all claim they're independent all of a sudden. You know what I mean? Because they want to seem like they're they're in the middle.
Yeah.
We're giving everyone a fair chance, but they never.
Yeah.
Any Democrat,
They all
president-
become independent.
and all of a sudden become independent.
Independents.
You know what I mean? But
Yeah,
they're
right.
clearly Democrats. These kind of people are never voting Republican ever.
That lady is a paid agitator. I'm gonna tell you that right now. That woman is there to agitate. That is her job.
She's disgusting. I'm
I
sorry.
can't.
I can't with her. I won't watch the show because of her. Because I don't like the way she talks to people. She has no business talking to anybody like that. Larry Elder was very nice and very
Informative.
professional and informative, and they talked to him like they were on the street somewhere.
Larry's the same in every
Always.
situation. Like he can be in a non-hostile situation, or like he was right here, kind of a hostile situation, and he's still gonna look. Stick to the facts, data, and stats. You stick to that stuff. You're good.
In fact, when I left the Democratic Party, it was Larry Elder and Thomas Sowell and Walter Williams and Milton Friedman. Those people really just honestly, it didn't take much.
Yeah.
Because I was already done with the Democratic Party anyway. Because I had a feeling that they were, they were the slave owners. They still have us in chains.
Yeah.
Mentally now.
Right. This is how you win and embarrass people like this. Just stick to the facts. All you gotta do, because they're not going to stick to the facts and go with emotion only. And this is the problem with the community. And we've been saying this for a very long time. Is that we are very emotional. Black people are very emotional when it comes to this political stuff, and this is not the time to do that. This is not the time to be emotional. You have to stick to plain logic and data. Like I said, we have over 400 videos, and a lot of those videos, we're talking about father absence, and there's a reason why we're talking about that, because we know that is the main problem. Why did BLM on their, their platform, why do you think that they went after the nuclear family? Why do you think they went after? It's because they know that that's what holds people together. The family structure, God. These things hold people together. These things create community, keep community together. So they attack that because it's extremely important. So whatever they attack first, just know that is the most important thing. They attacked family, and that is the most important thing, and God.
Like it's really a tragedy that people like that get the ear of most black people. I know they told them make everything about race. Make everything about race. Just keep asking about white people. Just keep because they had nothing. They had no statistics because the statistics are against us. They don't make us look that good as a group of people. And so all they can say is, what about white people? What about white people? What about the system is what white? The system is what? It's just like girl, you are what did that guy say? You got to stretch before you try to. You got to stretch before you try to reach that far.
Right. We'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Leave a comment below. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.